Hello, this is Bears versus Panada Express, Game 1, and with me here is Zenith,
Hello.
and we are gonna unpause now and watch at fast speed right now. So, to introduce the players, in green we have James, very strong player, playing as Bulgarians. His pocket is Prophet, as Saracens, which is another strong Civ, and Grizzly as their flank. If you want to do your team, Zenith.
And yeah, on Team Panada, I don't remember all Civs by heart, actually. So you might help me with that. But Zenith is on the flank. It's me, yellow, against blue, do Eric. And then we've got Panada, our probably strongest player, Pocket. And I'm sorry, on the other flank, we've got do Eric on the flank on the other side. I was misrotated.
Yeah,
Here
I
we go.
think you are.
So we got do Eric on Yeah, we've
Yeah,
got Dueric
yeah.
on the left flank. I'm in the pocket, and
Um,
Panada's Italians.
Dueric is the flank, Panada is the flank, and you are the pocket.
Yeah,
Um, so the civs here, you can pull them up on the right side if you press the banner. Dueric is Saracens, and he's flank against Grizzly, who is Vikings. On the other flank, we have Panada, who is Italians against James, who is Bulgarians. And the pockets are Zenith as Bulgarians, you, and Prophet as Saracens.
yeah, and in these 3v3 games, I think as James has discussed in another casting, the pocket's generally cutting to the weaker side,
Yeah,
and in this case, this game evolved into a 1v1 and 2v2.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
So what do you
So
think of your
think
team
of
civs, first
your
of all?
pieces first. I mean, we had a chance to pick the Civs, so we're overall pretty happy with them. I think Italians are a little weak, um, and Eric is also not the strongest player on the other flank. So those were our two weaknesses in some ways that were both exploited in the game. And James is such a strong 1v1 player.
Indeed, yeah.
He can hold almost anybody. But unless you have a massive condo rush, which we'll see how much we got up on Panada's side, we just couldn't quite knock out
Yeah,
James.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna switch to normal
That's good
speed
to know.
now that everyone's in Imperial Age.
Yeah, so Eric is a European player, sort of a newer guy in the clan. Did a good
Yeah,
job getting to imp and had solid build order. Got
yeah,
his onagers up early. I'm already cutting to him, so in some ways, like right now in this particular moment, we're pretty even. The other
yeah,
team.
actually. You
Uh,
see, on their side, Prophet's much slower to cut to his flank. And Grizzly, I mean, he's got a decent boom. He's got 4 town centers. He's Vikings. But Vikings start to drop off because they don't have guilds. Obviously, in Castle Age, they have a great economy with free handcart, free wheelbarrow. But late game, they struggle a little bit to sustain any strong compositions. And the same goes for James as Bulgarians. Bulgarians miss a lot of economy upgrades. They miss guilds and the last word upgrade compared to Italians, which I think have everything. But
and
the
Panada here is not quite ready to open, even though
yeah,
he had the advantage on James. I'd say he
so
just doesn't have enough barracks up yet. He only has one.
yeah,
He's already
he's making a 7th town center, but he's only got 1 barracks. And James, he's already massing 200 swordsmen out of 3 barracks, 4 barracks, and he's
yeah.
opening right now. And Panada's gonna be caught completely off guard if we check their economy upgrades, make sure they have everything. Panada is missing all of his farm upgrades. That's not great at all.
Yeah, we try and get the first farm upgrade between feudal and castle usually.
Yeah, that's usually what I recommend because it's really cheap and it gives a pretty good bonus. But
Great bonus. Yeah.
yeah, Panada does a decent job considering his circumstance. He kind of panic walls off the front with barracks, and then he kills all of the champions. But the problem here is he's not making condos like he really should be. Italians don't have the greatest siege. They have an okay economy. It's not like they have that much going for them, but the condo is so strong because it doesn't require many upgrades, and it produces quickly and it's really fast. There's really no reason you should make champions instead of condos for a long time in the game. And it's sort of because of this that James is able to get an edge, because Panada is investing so much into the champion upgrade that he's
Right.
a little slower. But James, he is not really abusing his advantage a whole lot. You see, he's not using the space he claimed. He's not building production. He's still on 6 barracks. And he's just adding a siege workshop now, which is a little late. And you can see right now he sells all of his wood. He's out of wood because now he realizes Panada has a bunch of champions. And he's actually going to have to fight his way through this. And note that neither side is fully upgraded.
Yeah, Panada comes back pretty strong, and I think we're at this point 30 minutes in, and we're talking about slinging the 35-minute rule,
Yeah,
trying trying to get Panada enough to just push all the way through him. I'm guessing James is going to get something as well,
yeah,
and I'm already starting to cut to James actually, which may have been part of my mistake because I began to commit to that side to try and, I think assuming that James was the strongest player, which he is, but also had never played with Dueric. This is like my first game with him and stuff. It's not how good he was during, getting to Imp and having a strong economy. He's got top score, so I'm like, okay, great. I can let Dueric hold
yeah.
that side for like at least 10 minutes, and then we can just crush James. But that, unfortunately, is not what happened in this game.
I think the thing is here is Dueric did not cut forward at all. So Prophet and Grizzly are actually fully united and they're even starting to trade, which I think is a bit of a mistake. I think you shouldn't trade right away. But the point still stands that it's 2 players and it's gonna be against one. Um,
And so like right now, I'm not building anything up at the flank. I'm just assuming that Eric can
yeah.
hold, although he must have sold a bunch of wood so that his score dropped.
And the problem is, it's not necessarily a bad thing that you're helping out Panada, but you're making halberdiers from the opposite
Yeah,
side of the map. And it's just not
right.
going to help that much. And it's going to hurt Dueric a lot by forcing him to 1v2 for a little bit.
Yeah. And like, do Eric cut sort of funny? He cut against the side and he wasn't, he got sort of split in half when this attack comes.
Yeah, I think he expected the enemy to be further straight. I think he was a little bit surprised by this. Now, he has a decent amount of champions. They're not fully upgraded. He still has 10,000 wood in the bank, but he only has 27 farms, which is not quite enough to sustain production.
Yeah, so like at this point, our score we're up 10% on the other on the other team, and James is getting pushed in.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
and
think we were feeling, confident. Oh, got champs in James base. I'm like, my economy's roaring. I've probably got show us the economy tab. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Villagers
definitely
food. Yeah, so I've
pretty
got
far ahead.
12K food today, but we're not trading yet.
And this is where Dueric's inexperience in early fighting starts to show. He's making pikemen, he's making skirmishers.
Right. And he
Uh,
has no buildings up here in front.
yeah, his
And I'm
production
not
is still
really
off to the
here.
side. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
so like in these next like 5 minutes, Eric just gets crushed.
his economy at the
Profit.
start was pretty good. It wasn't great. Like, he was only
No,
3
I think
town centers,
yeah,
but
yeah,
he
no,
had a lot of
Eric.
champions, so he could have done something with it,
Right.
but now he's struggling to mass them up.
Yeah.
His gather point is in the middle of the enemy, so they're all dying before they're fighting.
Yeah. And we're all in voice chat, and he's actually not letting me know that he's dying.
Mm,
And maybe he just can't read. But like, I should have used these woodcutters over here on the right and started putting up siege and
yeah.
barracks.
So at this stage in the game, halberdiers are not that important on either side. So the unit you should have started out with was champion,
Yeah.
because that would champion is a pushing unit. It can destroy buildings and kill enemy units pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I'm
Halberdiers,
Bulgarians. I don't
yeah,
think I got a castle up, but I've got good two hands and
yeah.
close enough.
So in the long run, halberdiers are good because you'll have siege to back them up. But if you don't have
Right.
siege to back them up, they're not really doing anything. And you see here, they're trading with Viking, with Saracen pikemen. Obviously, another mistake from Prophet. Saracens get extra gold for each wood, so you should be making full champion. In fact, you can go a very long time without any trash units at all as Saracens. His economy isn't the cleanest. He's only 3 town centers. He's not refreshing his lumber camps on time. He has less than 100 on wood, when most other players have like 120. If we could find that. We can just scroll through the players, I guess. See, Grizzly has 160 on wood. Or he did. Dueric, his economy's starting to drop. He's lost most of his economy due to raids, which is something Grizzly is pretty good at, and Prophet as well. They're good at targeting the economy. Blue is making villagers, but he only has 55 total.
Yeah, his pop is under 100 at this point. That is just.
Yeah, it's not a good sign.
And then James is beginning to hold and even push back a little bit on Panada. He's sort of,
Yeah.
Panada could have maybe cut into his woodcutters or something to.
Yeah, Panada was definitely letting up the pressure a bit. Uh, see, he has 20,000, 25,000 wood in the bank.
Right.
He easily could have been adding bombard cannons, capture ram. I'm not sure if they get siege ram. But he was kind of just expecting James to die, but James. So it's past 35 minutes, so Sling is now allowed, and James is. They do not want James to die because that means Panada can focus on them. So they are slinging James a lot of resources to allow him to hold. And James is very good at that.
Yeah, and actually, I'll give a little bit more credit to Eric. He actually did survive about 10 minutes of the attack.
Yeah,
The opening.
and
It's
definitely
probably
is.
where and this is probably where I was sort of the weaker player, just not committing, not being clear where to commit.
Yeah, and I mean, Panada could have played a little more seriously. You could have been a little more decisive, and Dueric could have been a little cleaner with his economy. On the other
I
side,
still only have,
yeah,
I still have 180 300 pop games. I'm not even.
yeah. And I think this is where we see the weakness of some civs. Bulgarians have a strong opening, but they don't have the economy to make their strong units for very long. They have a lot of strong options, but you just can't do them if you don't have the economy. And they're missing the wood upgrade and guilds, which is a huge.
Yeah. Yeah, so like right now, how does James survive? He has no town centers.
Yeah.
Panada's got his champions back there killing woodcutters. He's got a couple of onagers. I'm really curious. Like,
Yeah, I'm really impressed that James managed to do anything here. But you see,
I
his
guess,
production is constant. He does not stop producing.
right? Got like, yeah, he's got like 50 two hands, and then they're just
Yeah, that's like all he's got. He doesn't have an economy, and that's pretty
right.
obvious.
He's building a new town center. Panada hasn't taken down these houses yet.
Yeah, he's starting to, but he obviously could have been doing that earlier. And on the other side, Prophet has really started to show the power of Saracens. His economy's
Yeah,
up. He's got siege onagers, bombard cannons, and champions, which is exactly what you want. Grizzly as well. His trade is finally up. Usually trade takes too long to really pay off in a normal game, so I don't recommend it. But obviously it does help somewhat,
yeah.
especially now.
Have, yeah, and I don't have the wood. I don't think anymore. I have no gold, and we have no trade.
Yeah, and this is why I think Bulgarians are very overrated as a pocket. They seem very similar to other good civs like Slavs and Teutons, but they just don't have a comparable economy compared to the others. There are some good bonuses at the start, like the free swordsman upgrade, the cheaper siege upgrades, and the cheaper blacksmiths. All of that helps them get a lot of units out really quickly at the start. And they're also one of the few civs that can afford siege onager as a flank.
Look at it. Yeah, Prophet's coming in with his champs, and I feel like he's just doing a good job of targeting the economy really fast as well. And even though James has almost nothing, God, James is still totally surviving over there.
Yeah,
At first, I was thinking, oh, maybe we resigned too early, but yeah, I think I saw these pikes coming in against James's two hands, and it just seemed like it was over.
yeah, Panada, not the cleanest. Like, why should you make pikes when you have 18,000 wood and 7,000 food?
Yeah,
But James,
GG.
much credit to James. Obviously, he was surviving entirely on his ally sling, but not many players have the tenacity to keep going in that.
Yeah,
At this
yeah,
point, it's over, yeah.
yeah. Panada's already quit. Eric's had to rebuild inside our bases, and I'm getting, you know,
Yeah. The thing with trade is I do recommend it if you civ without the wood upgrade and without guilds. Like
right.
Bulgarians, your woodcutters are just so inefficient. You might as well make trade because it's gonna give you much more, much quicker.
Yeah, agreed. And I should just keep building more villagers. I mean, even when I was down,
Yeah,
my pop never really hit. I don't know what my high pop was. Maybe I got 50.
we can look at the statistics. Economy, society. Your villager high was 218, which is the second highest actually.
Yeah, but could have been stronger, especially given our score in the early game.
Yeah,
But yeah, I should have started training early. I think.
to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the Bulgarians pick. Like,
Yeah,
James picked it and he kind of lost his side. Without without the help of his allies, he would have lost. And you didn't really have the economy to make the units for very long. But
yeah,
I do like the other picks. We see the strength of Italians having a very strong opening with all of their necessary upgrades. And we see Saracens with their insane economy.
right. And they get the extra market bonus, which is huge. That extra 10%.
Yeah, because if you compare it to a civ without guilds, like say Japanese, when you compare 19 gold to 14 gold, like 5 gold is like a third of the opponent's total gold income. So
Right.
you're getting way more champions for each pound for pound.
Yeah, and Grizzly's so fast. He's actually such a good. He's a good player. He's definitely like James a little bit too, where he won't die. He'll fight to the end.
Yeah,
And pretty quick about putting buildings up in the front. You'll see how. And I think Prophet's just been improving so much this year.
yeah.
He's
Prophet used to
really
be like the noob of the clan, but not anymore. Like, you can't joke about him
right.
anymore.
Oh, exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Well, some credit to King as well. King's been coaching him a bunch.
yeah.
King Arya.
Grizzly and James, I would say, are pretty different stylistically, but you are right that they do influence each other somewhat. Grizzly likes
Yeah,
to get a strong economy before fighting.
yeah, I think Bear likes to boom a bit more. James is a little bit more smart and strategic in terms of
Yeah,
knowing when to push and timing everything.
I think James prefers to fight before they have a good economy.
Right. Yeah.
We'll be right back for game two. Welcome back to Bears versus Panada Express. This is game two. Unfortunately, Zenith had to head out, so I'll be on my own for now. And once again, we will introduce the players. We have James once again in the green. It is his favorite color, at least to play in. As the Sicilians this time. Once again, his pocket profit is Indians. And same as before, Grizzly in gray as the flank. Opposite of Grizzly, we have Zenith, who is Burmese. Probably the strongest civ here, I would say. His pocket is Dueric in the Incas, not eating his llama. Oh, now he is. And in the other flank is Panada as the Aztecs. So this time Zenith is a flank rather than a pocket, and he'll be going up against Grizzly. It's definitely a close matchup. They both have decent civs. Burmese have better economy bonuses, but Koreans have a very strong late game with siege onagers, bombard cannons, everything you could ask for. On the other hand, we have Panada as Aztecs. They also have a strong late game, but they miss some key late game techs like guilds and some final economy upgrades. Sicilians have almost all of their upgrades, I think, and another strong late game as well, so they're definitely a preferred civilization. Guilds makes a huge difference in forest nothing because all your gold comes from selling wood. When you get 3 more gold, that's a surprisingly large percentage of your economy. All players doing mostly the same thing, 3 town centers, and they'll be clicking imp soon enough. Usually click imp around between 17 and 20 minutes. In the previous game, Panada was against James, and he won pretty convincingly. James was not really able to stand up to the stronger economy of Italians. James was Bulgarians then. But this time, James is the one with the stronger economy. So it's interesting to see how this will switch. He's adding a lot of farms right away. Sicilians have very strong farms. They have each check gives like double the value or so. And he's gonna go full 5 town centers. He's cutting slightly the wrong way, but they'll meet up in a similar place anyways. Starting to mass swordsman, but also getting archery ranges. And that will be interesting. Panada, on the other hand, got a castle. And when you get a castle without guilds, you can see he has very few resources left over, but he doesn't have any units. He has like 1 swordsman and a few onagers. James has arbalest, 200 swordsmen, and onagers. And this time, last time Panada was able to wall just in time, but this time he's not, and James is going to flood him pretty quickly. But if you look on the other side, Grizzly is also forced to wall as Zenith catches him off guard with a strong Burmese rush. Burmese, obviously, a very fast civilization because they have strong infantry right off the bat. They have decent siege because they have bombard cannon and siege engineers. And they have good economy with the free wood upgrades. Koreans don't really have much going for them at this stage in the game. You see, Grizzly also got a castle, and his resources are not looking great when you compare them to Zenith, with about 5,000 more wood. But Zenith is unable to push past this wall. Grizzly has done a good job of stalling him out, and Grizzly's pocket profit is coming up now with hand cannons and swordsmen, which is a pretty strong composition as Indians. You see he's getting all of his upgrades, making villagers, making hand cannons. Everything's great. Dueric, top score, but no upgrades, no blacksmith, no university. So he's gonna take a little while to get into the fight. And Zenith, Prophet has already started to have units, so he's already has units on the front, and Grizzly has a castle protecting him. So it'll be difficult for Zenith. On the other side, Panada, with a decent amount of champions, but James, already with the counter Arbalest, already with his own champions. Panada does have the unique tech, Garland Wars, giving him plus extra attack on his champions, but he does not have all of his upgrades. He's queuing them up now. So his infantry's not actually that good. While James' siege rams are going to start knocking down this castle and the forward production. The Arbalests are not letting any champions through, and it's not looking great for Panada. On the other hand, Zenith holding pretty well for the moment. He is 2v1, but he did catch Grizzly off guard, so Grizzly sort of panicked a bit, not with many units on the field. But the hand cannons are really gonna hurt. Because when you're just making champions, hand cannons kill them pretty quickly. But we'll see if Zenith can get some good onager shots here. He gets one. He's got 3 onagers, so Prophet, wisely decides to back up. Grizzly now deletes his walls. It's all just clogging them up at this point. They're in no danger of being pushed by Zenith. Zenith lacking the production, only 3 barracks. So, yeah, he has tons of resources. He's queued up a ton of champions, but only in 3 barracks, so they're not coming out very quickly. He could do to refresh his lumber camps, especially here. You don't want them walking through the farms. Dueric doing a good job of that, but still with no units on the field. His onagers are helping, but no, he's got nothing in front to buffer. On the other side, James still making a good push. Arbalest champion siege ram. And you see now the weakness of Aztecs, lacking guilds. They resort to making pikemen. But without the halberdier upgrade, they barely do anything against champs. Usually, you make pikemen because they'll have some sort of unit in the back to deal damage, and the pikemen will just absorb shots. But Panada has no units in the back. He's got 7,000 wood, 8,000 wood, so he can make some onagers. Or some scorpions even. But yeah, he doesn't have many siege workshops. He doesn't have the range upgrade. He doesn't have the siege onager upgrade. And he's getting pushed back. He makes skirmishers. Not a great idea. I'm sure you've heard it. If you're part of the ballistas at all, you've heard it from someone that skirmishers are not a good unit. But Zenith doing a pretty good job here. He's got scorpions in the back, protected by buildings. He's got champions in the front. He's increased his production. Still not enough, but much better. He's not making villagers. Usually, you want to keep making villagers until you're at max pop. Especially when you have so much food and so much pop space. There's no reason not to. You see, with only 70 on wood, he's unable to sustain what he's making right now. If he had 100 on wood, he could keep doing this. But now, we can see the power of Koreans starting to shine. 10 range onagers, war wagons, halberdiers. Prophet making some spearmen, not a great choice. His economy's not the greatest. It's not bad. He's not quite at max pop. He's housed. He needs to refresh his lumber camps as well. On James's side, everything's going smoothly. He's in the economy, and Panada's not going to last very long here. He is opened. He's cut to Dueric, so maybe he can survive. But Zenith cannot survive on his own here. Dueric is getting units out. But you see he has 50,000 wood, but he's only making halberdiers. And they're not even fully upgraded. So he is a little much less experienced and professional or competitive for something than the rest. He's still a good player overall, but it's easy to tell which players have more experience. And you can see Zenith, with most of his upgrades done, he's got bomber cannons, siege. But Dueric's just kind of one thing at a time. And that's too slow to help Zenith at this point. Panada as well. And pretty decisive battle by James on this side. Shows the power of guilds, as well as the weakness of civs that have siege onager but don't have guilds. You see James was Bulgarians, they have siege onager but they don't have guilds. And James lost to Panada. But now Panada's Aztecs have siege onager but not guilds. And Panada lost this time. Zenith unable to do anything on this side. He's against two players. Dueric is not giving the support needed. And the economies from this side of the map are untouched. Like 150 on wood, 40 on food. You could do a little more on food. Grizzly's doing a good job with his lumber camps. You could do better here, but that's alright. Profit, 100 on wood, 40 on food. He's not losing his units as quickly, so he's banking more resources. But yeah, they call the game. That is the end of Bears versus Panada Express. With Zenith resigning first. Actually, Panada. My bad. James making some surgeons at the end. A pretty good unit overall, but expensive to make because you need a castle, which is a lot of stone. And yeah, it's just waiting for Dueric to resign at this point. Both of his flanks are completely eliminated. Zenith, he had some resources left in the bank, but he just did not have the space nor the time to mass those units. And Grizzly and Proper Wave the steamroll this side with a strong Korean composition. And that is the end of Grizzly. There are James and Prophet against Zenith, Panada, and Dueric. You can look at the statistics. James, most units killed. Dueric, fewest units killed, fewest units lost. Expectable. Largest army goes to James, with actually a pretty big jump compared to everyone else. Zenith with just 54 units compared to 180 from James. Economy, food, wood, gold. See, gold collected was actually given to James. Grizzly had trade, but James still collected like 3,000 more gold. Which is why I don't recommend trade, because it just doesn't pay off in time. Zenith got some sling, but it was never enough. Panada with the fastest castle in imp times. Not by much, you can see. Pretty similar. Villager high also going to Panada, but not quite helping him out. James is military high, much more useful. And you can see the timeline. Everyone drops off on this team. And that is it for today. I'll get to casting more as soon as I can. And I'll see you next time.